that's me. You must be wondering how I got into this situation. Kenshi is a samurai-themed post-apocalyptic indie RPG with town building and Miyazaki-style storytelling. You don't belong in the human world, not even the humans do. The game supports a variety of play styles. You can make a big-ass party or play solo with a single character. That's what we're gonna be doing in this episode of our show. There are a number of ethnic and cultural backgrounds to choose from, but we'll be playing as a skeleton. I find their story to be very intriguing. The skeletons are sentient robots. They are individuals capable of experiencing most common human emotions: sadness, anger, compassion, although probably not all of them, since the skeletons don't breed. Nobody knows who made them. They're possibly thousands of years old. Well, let's do this. Welcome to the border zone, politically a no man's land between two powerful local nations. The ruined town is called the Hub, possibly a Fallout reference. Skills and attributes work by the Elder Scrolls rules. You do something and you get better at it. I don't think our guy knows how to use a toilet. That actually makes perfect sense. Stealing in this game is a percentage-based and kind of a safe scummy activity. We can sleep in beds. We don't need to because we are a robot, but we can. A group of suspicious individuals approaches the bar. The guards are much tougher than the bandits, so it's no problem. One of the funny and useful things you can do in the early game is to lead bandit gangs into towns where you can rely on local guards for help. Isolating a bandit is a good way of practicing combat skills. We take his armor off the body. The game has a detailed, location-based damage system. Different armors cover some body parts better than others. The system is more sophisticated than in a typical RPG and is about on par with Dwarf Fortress or RimWorld-ish, kind of. It's not quite as complex. We learn of another settlement south of here. Notice that clacking sound? Despite being a robot, we can still get wounded. This is the reason playing as a skeleton is not recommended for newcomers. In order to heal ourselves, we need special skeleton repair kits. There were none for sale in the hub. Hopefully we'll find some in this place. The town is called Squin, and it's controlled by Shek Kingdom. Shek are a race of bony, horned humanoids. Mutants, I think. They are physically large and have a martial culture. Desert Klingons, basically. This is the local inn. There are many mercenaries and henchmen for hire. On the second floor of the police station, there are these very useful training dummies. Now, it's technically not illegal to use other people's training instruments, but it's usually not done. You'll get a number of verbal warnings, and then the cops will beat the shit out of you. The place has 4 or 5 merchants. One of them has a skeleton repair kit in his inventory. Fixing skeletons raises your robotics skill. The arid land north of Squin is called Okrent's Gulf, home of the Holy Nation, one of the oldest civilizations in existence. A theocratic oppressive state, the Holy Nation maintains strict bans on almost all technology. Skeletons and those with robotic limbs are killed on sight. The paladins chase us all the way to the hub. In order to unlock technology, we need to build a research bench, which can only be placed inside your own property. I don't want to build a town, though. Owning real estate doesn't quite fit into the fantasy I have for this character. Doesn't seem to be a very wandering samurai thing to do. Chris Hunt, the lead developer and founder of Lo-Fi Games, spent 12 or so years creating Kenshi, and for 6 of those years he worked alone. Back in the early 2000s, there weren't many free video game engines available for developers. There was Augur, and then there was also, may Allah forgive me for uttering that name, Torque 3D, a career-destroying piece of Saddam Hussein-era technology. Hunt made a decision to go with Augur, which was obviously a correct choice. 20 years later, the game still looks good and runs well. A thieves guild is a business. They offer access to various rogue-related services, but the price of admission is 10,000 cats. Cats, a currency. A coin with a square hole, named after an ancient dictator supposedly. We pay the required sum and get access to Shinobi thieves. One of the services they offer is plastic surgery. It essentially takes you back to the character creation screen. Everything can be changed, including stance and posture. You can set it up in such a way that squatting is a default character stance, and they say skeletons have no culture. The guild also has these training chests you can use to raise your lockpicking skill. Not as useful as it sounds, since the skill is easy enough to trade on real chests. There are also these training dummies you can practice your assassination skill on. Being a robotic skeleton, we don't need to eat or rest, so we just practice on this training dummy for a few days without stopping. Not far from Squin, there is this bandit encampment. It's concealed, but just barely. The lights are on. I provoke a fight and then lead the bandits to a nearby outpost. Kenshi has two types of ranged weapons, crossbows and character-controlled static turrets. Most bandits die before they even make it to the gate. I provide medical aid to one of them in order to study human anatomy some more. Welcome to the swamp. Fertile land, high foliage density, plenty of strange creatures and armed bandits. There are many settlements in the swamp. This is one of the smaller villages, very aesthetically distinct from everything we've seen so far. This place is called Shark, the only major settlement in the region. And as we'll learn very soon, it's one of the strangest towns in the entire game. A local bar. Shark is run by gangs. There are 3 or 4 of them. This place is called a dancing skeleton. They have a body of one of our people attached to a sign with a top hat and a cane. The trader's selection is impressive. I'm especially interested in this here robotic arm, but it costs an absurd amount of money. We have a chat with one of the locals. The gangster starts talking gangstery things, demanding respect and whatnot. I make an attempt to disengage from the conversation, but it fails and he attacks us. Another local didn't like that the gangster clearly was the aggressor and joined the fight on our side. Within seconds, the bar turned into a battlefield with people beating the shit out of one another. Within minutes, the chaos engulfed the entire town. Pretty much everyone here has a gang allegiance of some kind. We find the shopkeep lying on the floor in his own house with a bunch of limbs broken. That robotic arm? Yeah, I'm confiscating that. Several hours later, the sun had set, but the battles never stopped. These two are the last combatants, it looks like. I think one of them owns the bar. I love this place. This is Last Stand, a shack town split into 2 separate walled areas. Well, it's less of a town and more of a military base. The place serves an important function in shack honor culture. This is where older shacks go to die in battle against someone or something called the Bugmaster, who lives in the nearby mountain range of Watcher's Rim. It rains red, probably not super amazing for your health, but thankfully we are a robot and are less affected by bad weather conditions. Not sure what this area is called, or what the body of water is called. If I wasn't restricting myself to a single character, this is where I would build my town. It's pastoral. Shun is a desolate region in the southwestern part of the game world. A distinct feature of the landscape are these red rocks. A bunch of grotesque-looking spider creatures fighting other wild animals. The spiders win, but get some of their legs broken. We take advantage of this to work on our marksmanship. An ancient lab. Still sealed, it looks like. Inside, there are these robot guardian spider things. I don't think it's possible to sneak past them. We retreat. What an amazing run animation. Do you know what this is? I've always imagined Chad from Virgin vs. Chad meme walks kind of like this. I feel psychologically dominated by this creature. An expansive jungle region called Vane occupies much of the west coast. The jungle is the home of the Western Hive. Hivers are a playable race in Kenshi, a society of individually weak but numerous stick-like humanoids united under a collective mind. Contrary to an archetype in fiction, Hivers are good engineers and excellent mechanics. We find a skeleton bed in one of the villages. The store has a huge selection of artificial limbs, but most of them are on the simple side. Red Rain, Red River, Red Lake. This is Vane. From here, we travel east through the inhospitable Stand Desert until we reach the shack capital city of Admag. Kenshi's storytelling technique is Miyazaki-inspired, and much of the lore is delivered from tiny bits of dialogue and item descriptions. The book explains the ancient doctrine of Shek warrior philosopher Kroll. It's all just cringy Klingon stuff. This place doesn't look like much, but it's actually the Shek political HQ, occupied by the 100 Guardians, their military elite. Being a martial artist is a viable career choice, perhaps even optimal for a robot, since non-skeletons take damage to their hands when doing martial arts stuff. Hand-to-hand combat in Kenshi follows Gothic rules somewhat, meaning as you get more skilled, your combat animations change to reflect that. Since combat is almost always a major part of what you do in an RPG, having combat animations change as your character improves makes the story told through play feel more impactful. And we are back where we started, the border zone, the hub. Turns out you don't have to build your own settlement if you want to own property. We purchase one of the ruined buildings in the middle of town. We require several crates of building materials. The trader in Squin sells a bunch of those. The engineering skill governs the construction work. It takes many hours to do anything. After the building is finished, we assemble a primitive research bench on the roof. Science is a time-intensive activity. The research jobs are queued on this screen. We can rebuild this entire town, you know. Buy every ruined building, construct furniture. The houses can then be opened to the public. Unfortunately, this won't increase the town's population. The world of Kenshi is actually a lot more static than it looks. The skeleton bed in the Hivers village is not that far from here. Since we can always use it to get repairs, there is no reason not to attack every group of bandits we come across in order to practice combat skills. Occasionally, you'll encounter these nomad caravans. They sell tamed animals. That's not really our thing. The sneak animation also changes once you pass a certain skill threshold. Except this one I don't like. It's obviously inspired by Naruto, which I never got into. It looks stupid, but I guess it's appropriate for the setting. One of the factions terrorizing the borderlands are dust bandits. This here tower is their base. Way too many of them inside. We would stand no chance in a brawl. But then, a lucky development. Their leader, the Dust King, goes outside for a smoke or something. So we sneak up on him, disable the guy with a backstab, grab the unconscious body and run. Since he's in charge of the bandits, he must be tough, right? My plan is to use him as a sparring partner. We'll just have to wait for the man to regain consciousness. The Dust King isn't super great at martial arts as it turns out, but this was when I noticed him having a giant bounty on his head. The nearest police station is in Squin. The shack cops give us the cats. We find the Dust King upstairs, tied to a pole. I guess this is the end of his career. When playing a robot, one of the best ways to train combat skills is by attacking wild animals in the Vane jungle. See, the animals won't enslave you, they won't loot your equipment or cats, and they won't eat you, since, you're a robot. Chris Hunt credits his sister for writing 99% of the game's dialogue. She lists various well-regarded boomer RPGs as inspirations. I love the minimalist style. You never find yourself clicking through dialogue in Kenshi just to get it over with. Not unlike Fallout, the game uses dialogue barks or floats, which is one of my favorite characterization techniques in any RPG. We spend a month of in-game time in the jungle, hunting monsters and perfecting our skills. Despite the prehistoric technology powering the whole thing, Kenshi is aesthetically phenomenal. The art direction, clothing, landscapes, the color palette, soundscape. The problem is that all these things kind of stop existing once you zoom out and set the game speed to anything above normal, which is what you'll probably end up doing since it is the optimal way of playing Kenshi. Zoomed in, you can't see distant threats, and playing the game on normal speed is just annoying because everything takes way too goddamn long. So in order to play Kenshi efficiently, you need to make it ugly. Remember this place? The human supremacist town we've been chased away from by a pitchfork mob. The pile of bodies behind us is them. I'm curious what's inside the walls. The statue of a religious figure of some sort. Every faction specializes in a certain weapon type, and most factions have a distinct style of clothing and armor. There is a Vegas-style uniform system as well. That's not gonna help us though. In the Holy Nation, robots are killed on sight, no matter the colors they're wearing. The local cops have pretentious titles like Paladin and Inquisitor. Their heavy weapons swing slowly but deal massive damage, hacking off limbs left and right. This is the religious book of the Holy Nation. Every citizen has to have one by law. The sun is up. Time for us to leave. I heard a rumor that there is an entire town of our people, hidden somewhere in the inhospitable Deadlands region. Inhospitable for humans, that is. It's actually perfect for robots who need to hide from the Holy Nation speciesists. What the hell is that thing? These inactive metallic spider constructs are found all over the Deadlands. Pretty sure it's just scenery. The huge ancient factory hosts a skeleton merchant shop. You don't belong in the human world. Not even the humans do. The local bar, a mechanical spider used as a pet. They don't sell normal food, but there is plenty of alcohol. Black Desert City has no human inhabitants, but it's not just skeletons either. The households are equipped with skeleton beds. The store has a rich selection of mechanical limbs. We buy all the best stuff. 2 Titanfall legs to improve our ability to sneak, 2 advanced mechanical arms to make us a more dexterous swordsman. That's basically all our money gone. Turns out, you can't just attach new limbs in Kenshi, not even if you're a robot. You need to lose your original ones first. In the wiki, I read about something called a peeler machine that can be used to strategically sever limbs. Well, let's go find the machine, I guess. The Black Desert. Name checks out. The red trees are very pretty. Kenshi likes to punctuate the wasteland aesthetic with the color red. The slavers exchange a few barks with each other, deciding if they should attack us or not. Bad idea. Do you think this is white sand or snow? The place is called Heng, an important merchant town belonging to the United Cities faction, sometimes also referred to as the Empire. The United Cities is a multi-ethnic, multi-species society of slavers. Anti-slaverist ideologies are considered to be extremist. Katanas seem to be their weapon of choice. The region with blue sand and strange trees is called Gut. There are no towns here, and there is certainly no shortage of aggressive fauna. I am fed up with politics. I'm not going back, says the strange man. He does have a bounty on his head, but after winning the duel, I choose to leave him alone. We don't know his story. This thing reminds me of the Soviet radar installations in Stalker that brainwash you with radio waves. The giant beasts are called leviathans. These are some of the toughest creatures in Kenshi. It bites off half of my body and then walks away. This town, hidden in the mountains, belongs to the anti-slaver faction. Some of the buildings have hydroponics farms. It's what you have to do in this inhospitable and remote region. Anti-slavers are a mirror image of the United Empire, also multi-ethnic. The Ashlands region is a graveyard of ancient machines. The place is officially unsurvivable if the Tech Hunter exploration manual is to be believed. The headless robots are the Skeleton Legion. Very little is known about them. A remnant of one of the previous empires, perhaps. There are many ancient facilities to be explored deep within the Ashlands. Most of the ruined domes are empty, except for this one that contains dozens of robotic troopers of unknown allegiance. Have you tried looking after humans? They're monsters. I was not the monster, says Cat-Lon, the exile. One of the most powerful characters in the game, Mad Cat-Lon was one of the founders and possibly the leader of the Second Empire, the civilization that immediately preceded the current one. We are not even remotely strong enough to fight Cat-Lon one-on-one, but we don't have to. I disable him with a backstab. We grab the body and run as far away from the Ashlands as possible. That looks like an oversized version of the ship from Firefly. After confiscating his sword, we spar with Cat-Lon to perfect our martial art. He is not that great, but better than any other opponent we tried. The absurdity of the whole situation suddenly dawned on me. What are we doing? Why did we kidnap this ancient robot? He is not an antagonist, or a villain, or a he. I give the oversized blade back to Cat-Lon and wander off in search of adventure. The Southern Hive. Unlike their relatives from the West, these guys are not very fond of robots. Did you know that Kenshi means swordsman in Japanese? This city belongs to the Tech Hunters, adventurers scouring the old ruins in search of lost technologies and artifacts. The place has seen better days. The carnivorous dinosaur-looking creatures are called beak things. We fought these before. Truth is, we kind of outgrew them. But this particular specimen is it's like a beak thing equivalent of us. One day, it just barges into town, kills and eats all the cops, then it kills and eats all the townsfolk and adventurers. The only reason it doesn't eat us is because we are a robot. And then it just walks away via the front gate, never to be seen again. We have to go back to the Tech Hunter town and lie in a skeleton bed for a bit. These guys are... well, it's more obvious if we zoom in. This is the real reason Ashlands are designated unsurvivable. Skin bandits are insane skeletons who kidnap humans, steal their skin, and wear it as clothing. Since we too are a skeleton, they are not hostile, and it's even possible to join their faction. The peeler machine. This is how they get the skin off the body, and this is exactly the device we were searching for. I tactically use the machine to detach our stock limbs, and then replace them with the advanced robotic arms and legs we purchased. With our goals achieved, I'm wondering what to do next. Kenshi doesn't have a main quest, or side quests. The game is a mechanical sandbox. Your actions are the story. No narrative, but ludonarrative. This is also the reason why the game is designed to be hard. Number one rule of storytelling: character wants something. Character faces obstacles and challenges, preventing him from attaining it. The job of the storyteller is to torment and obstruct the character. More torment equals more story. Solution: maximum torment. See, that's cool and smart. The problem is, once you get past the initial challenge, Kenshi isn't actually that hard. This is a common issue. RPGs tend to become less engaging once these initial challenges are overcome. To tell you the truth, I'm almost glad Kenshi has this problem, because now I have an excuse to briefly talk about another game I've been occupied with lately, a series of player-made adventures for Neverwinter Nights 1 called Sword Flight. The modules are brilliantly balanced, and that initial hard phase lasts for dozens of hours. I don't think Sword Flight ever stops being challenging. The designer achieved this by putting additional emphasis on the use of consumables. You know, all that crap you collect in RPGs and then never use, always saving that wand of fireballs for later, so that by the time you reach Sarivok you have like 5 of them. Not in swordfight, you'll be burning through consumables like it's going out of style. Scrolls, wands, potions, whatever this thing is. My character is a mid-level rogue / red dragon disciple with sorcerer levels, exploring the trade city of Kalimport. Not exactly a power gaming build, but also not the weakest. 20-something hours in, the adventure still feels challenging to play. But that's just an anecdote. I'm not sure if the same technique can be applied to Kenshi. There are important consumables in that game, but they're not exactly rare, and it's possible to steal them in massive amounts. Anyway, in order to prevent the endgame from feeling stagnant, we are supposed to create our own objectives. So let's do that. From now on, our goal is to take on the toughest individuals and monsters in the world of Kenshi. Mad Cat-Lon was our first. Didn't kill him, didn't need to. This Leviathan creature will be our second. Fighting it with a katana takes a very long time. It incapacitates us over and over again, but since we are a robot, we just reboot, patch ourselves up, and get back into the fight. Eventually, the creature falls. This is the prize, a Leviathan Pearl. I don't think it's even used for anything, just a rare and expensive trophy. Kind of feel bad. Need to do a vegan Kenshi playthrough next. Our third challenge is so-called Emperor Tengu from so-called United Empire. We arrive at the city of Heng, which I mistakenly consider to be the capital of the empire, and the likely place where Tengu hangs out. So like a huge metallic moron, I stand here in the throne room, waiting for him to show up. Heng is the home of the imperial oligarchy. This guy, an important traders guild bigshot, lectures us about ethics in slave holding. Alright, fine. The emperor is obviously not here, but I'll settle for you. Should have probably given him a sword to defend himself, but it's too late now, whatever. The anti-slaver, anti-cop action made us a wanted criminal. The real capital of the empire is a place called Heft, not Heng. But come on, even visually they look almost identical. And this place also has a throne room. The emperor is sleeping upstairs in his pajamas. We grab him and make our way out of the city into the open desert. I want no interruptions. He is certainly a better fighter than the Trade Federation guy, but not by much. My farm's gone, my family's gone, and I need food. And you are gonna give it to me, roamer. Dudes, I'm a robot. I don't eat. I don't carry food on me. We cross the Great Desert, heading west, closer to where we started our swordsman career. A military checkpoint separates the United Empire from the domain of the Holy Nation. This is the capital city of Blister Hill, home to the current High Lord Phoenix and his bodyguard unit called the Protectors of the Flame. The location is well fortified with both an external and an internal wall. And that's our fifth challenge. Holy Lord Phoenix the 62nd, supposedly one of the harshest in the line of the Phoenixes. We grab him and get out of the city. After putting enough distance between us and his paladin bodyguard, we wait for the High Lord to regain consciousness. I give him one of my katanas so we can have a duel with similar weapons, and right away I get lucky and break the High Lord's arm. They're gonna be needing the 63rd Phoenix pretty soon, it looks like. Well, despite having only one functioning arm, he convincingly defeats us and runs back to his paladins. After rebooting my systems, I go back to Blister Hill. Not sure what caused it, maybe our actions, maybe random chance, but the place is a war zone with groups of bandits and paladins duking it out. Taking advantage of the chaos, I make my way inside the city walls and hide in geometry, waiting for the sun to settle. We grab the Phoenix again, his wounds are all bandaged. I carry the High Lord all the way back to the hub, the ruined settlement where we started the game. We duel again. He actually defeats me several times before I finally manage to get the upper hand. That doesn't feel like victory, you know. I don't feel like I won. In the end, the High Lord Phoenix kind of defeated me. I mean, he probably doesn't think so. So yeah, this was Kenshi, a post-apocalyptic role-playing game. This would have been a very different experience if we embraced the party management and settlement building aspects of Kenshi. But looking at the concept art, I developed this fantasy of a wandering samurai loner, and this is just how I wanted to experience the game. As it turns out, it's a perfectly legitimate and enjoyable way of playing Kenshi. I don't think I mentioned this, but this playthrough was almost completely blind. It was my first time. Fun game, but I'm getting a little homesick. See you nerds in Solstheim in a few weeks.